This is Barry McKnight, the voice of the Troy Trojans. You're tuned in to the Phillip Jordan Show podcast.
Back by nobody's demand but our own. Welcome into another episode of the Phillip Jordan podcast. I am your host, Phillip Jordan, staff writer over at the Auburn Wire, talking all things Auburn Tigers over there. And we got a fun show planned for you guys here on the show. The show proper, had kind of like a bonus edition earlier this week, talking Troy football with Josh Boutwell. But now we're looking at the college football playoff today on the show. And I don't have one, I have two guests to break it all down. First, I'll be joined by Bill Bender from the Sporting News. We will jump into all four playoff games with Bill, kind of that overall look at the college football playoff, and then Tyler McComas from the Rush on the Ref in Norman, Oklahoma. He has a radio show there from 3 to 6. He will be joining me as well. We're going to break down the Oklahoma-Alabama game being played there in Oklahoma on Friday night to kick off the playoff. He'll be joining me in our conversation, and we did this conversation on Monday for everybody. Tuesday for everybody checking out the podcast on YouTube. It'll be looking like we're in a different location for that conversation. I'm actually doing this part of the show in the closing part of the show from Studio B, not at the normal location. But anyways, he talks about in that conversation that this is perhaps the biggest home game in the history of Oklahoma football. So it's going to be an interesting one with Alabama going to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Sooners. So we'll do all that. And then after that, I'll give my picks for the college football playoff games for this week, and also kind of look at some NFL storylines for this week in the National Football League. You can check out the Phillip Jordan podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review, and I'll read it on a future edition of the show. If you leave us 4 stars, you're just straight up hater. You can also check out the show over on YouTube at the Phillip Jordan Sports YouTube channel. Hit subscribe button, hit the bell for all notifications. Please leave a comment on the video, and I'll read it on a future edition as well. You can email me at sportstalkphillipjordan@gmail.com and follow me on social media at pjordansports. And now, here is our first guest of this episode of the Phillip Jordan podcast. My first guest this week is Bill Bender, Sporting News senior writer, also Football Writers Association of America president. Always a joy when I have Bill on the show, talk all things college football. And Bill, we're here. This is dropping on Thursday. So on Friday, the first playoff game is here. So we finally get to the first round.
Yeah, after all the about the format and who's in and who's out, we finally have these games. I know bowl season got started Saturday night after Army-Navy. And, it's exciting. I'm excited to watch these games. The best part of the college football playoff in this format is the games on campus. So you'll get to see it at 3 SEC venues this weekend, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of enthusiasm. Good thing they're not playing up here, by the way. There's still snow on the ground in Ohio from last week. It was ridiculous.
Oh, you kind of got to wonder, too, which, we all assume this thing's going to 14 or 16, in the very, very near future. But do you think as they kind of adjust this thing over the years that eventually, like maybe the second round is at the campus sites, and maybe we just do bowl games and the semifinals and the championship game?
I would seriously consider putting the second round on a campus if we go to 16. I know that's going to cause some ripple effect with the bowl games, but those legit, the semifinal and the New Year's Day 6 type venues are perfect for this. I know one place like the Peach Bowl has grown in importance because of what we're doing here. But I'm not opposed to that at all. I think 16, every 16 time I pitch a 16 team playoff, it comes with the catch. Let's put the first 2 rounds on campus. But to my point about the weather, let's push the season up a little bit too. I mean, I don't know how many people, trust me, man, if you're out in the snow and this stuff, shoveling driveways last weekend, it was pretty bad up here. Yeah, as for your listeners, I live 15 minutes south of Columbus, so I'm right up here in Big Ten country.
We got a dose of it last year in I think it was late January or early February, and it snowed. And it never, where I'm at in Alabama, it has snow, but it doesn't stay. It stayed for several days, and obviously no one down here knew how to react. So like you guys do up there. So, it's talking about, I know it's 12-team playoff too. You got the 4 teams to get those buys, especially this year where it's the top 4 teams getting those buys. And a way you got on their side, look, they're probably glad they're getting a rest, but also kind of a little sliding like, hey, we'd like a piece of that home field advantage instead of having to go to the bowl game like Georgia, Indiana, Ohio State, Texas Tech. I mean, I think a playoff game in Lubbock would have been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and it helps with season ticket packages and those kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you get a chance to go to those venues. And yeah, I'm excited about it. I do think one thing that will be alleviated a little bit is the straight seeding model. I say this, but we're all going to focus on Tulane and Ole Miss and James Madison and Oregon, which are potential blowouts in the first round. But I do think or hope that we have more competitive first round games. I do believe Friday night we're going to have a good one. Oklahoma, Alabama, close game. Everything going around with the Sooners trying to beat them for a third time in 2 seasons. That game will have a lot of heat on it, and it'll be probably a close game.
Yeah, jumping into that one, and look, I mean, Auburn hasn't been beating many teams either the last 2 years, but Oklahoma could go 5-0 against the state of Alabama since they joined the SEC. They went on Friday night, and you mentioned it. They've got Alabama's number, Kalen DeBoer's number the last 2 years. Alabama, I mean, there's been a theme with them all year. They can't run the ball, but they definitely haven't been able to do it against Oklahoma. And then the turnover battle, both games, they turned the ball over 3 times. He had the pick 6 from Ty Simpson in the one this year where they lost 23-21 in Tuscaloosa. Why do you think it is with Alabama having such trouble with this Oklahoma team?
Well, not being able to run the football, that's a function of that. And then you have the turnovers and sacks and breakdowns and pass protection. And, now, and last year, to me, one of the things that stood up, Phillips, was road. And Oklahoma is a tough place to play if you've never played there. And I think that's part of it. You look at Oklahoma, for the struggles that they've had under Brent Venables at times, they are a really good team at home. So I think we're going to find out how much that home field advantage means in this situation. I think that's part of it. And just trying to figure things out. So this is a big game for Kalen DeBoer because it's not just about the game. It's also about the constant flow of Michigan rumors that have attached to that job as well. So we can get into that if you want, but for me, the biggest statement you can make isn't on the X. It's going out and beating Oklahoma, going to the quarterfinals, going to the Rose Bowl. Then I don't think there'd be any doubt that Kalen DeBoer is sticking around.
And it feels like in this game, because Oklahoma hasn't been lighting up offensively lately either, that with these 2 quarterbacks, and, John Mateer's had some games against LSU. He threw 3 interceptions, even though they won the game. It feels like, and it's very simple to say this is, basic turnovers, but it just feels like whichever quarterback just doesn't turn the ball over maybe leads to their team winning because these are 2 solid defenses.
Yeah, defensive game for sure. 21-17 type game and, 1 or 2 big plays. You mentioned that pick 6. That's a game changer in a game like this. You can have 1 turnover that leads to 7 points and how many Oklahoma was very good at that in spots this year, cashing in on turnovers. So Alabama absolutely has to protect football here. And if they do, they'll be in good shape. And on the other side, one stat I've been pointing out all week is, if you look at John Mateer and Ty Simpson's last 4 games, both of those guys had a completion percentage around, a little less than 60%. So those 2 got to be better. And I think they both know they need to be better. And got to be one of the huge keys to the game. And that sounds like common sense, but anytime you're below 60%, I mean, that means that your offense is certainly not functioning at a high level.
Definitely not. The game Saturday that starts us off that'll be 12 o'clock Central Time, and that is Miami A&M. And I don't know about you, but part of me feels like, okay, A&M was 11-0 at one point. They lose to Texas, rivalry weekend, so they don't go to the SEC championship game. A&M to me kind of feels like a team that's kind of going kind of under the radar in these playoffs? Just what's your thoughts on the Aggies as they get ready to start things off in the playoffs?
Yeah, we wrote them off because of the Texas game, kind of. I agree with that they're a little under the radar. Marcel Reed still had a wonderful year. And you had your offensive coordinator leave. Some things there. Yeah, but I think certainly a team that could be dangerous. And they are at home. And Kyle Field is a tremendous advantage, especially if they're not playing at night. It would be an even bigger advantage had they been playing at night. So all of those things are at work for the Aggies. I said it's a tough matchup. Ruben Bain, Keem Messidor, those Miami guys, they get after it. And they're also much like Alabama. One factor that needs to be explained is when you're told you don't belong for like 2 weeks, which is kind of what Alabama and Miami got, I think you're going to get a good shot from the Hurricanes. Carson Beck down the stretch. I just talked about Simpson and Mateer. Carson Beck had 10 touchdowns and 1 interception in his last 4 games. So after that SMU game where he had the bad interception in overtime, he played very well.
Yeah, it feels like that's how it is with them. It's like which Carson Beck's going to show up. If the one he's capable of being, they're a dangerous team. I mean, this was at one point this year. There's a lot of people that were saying Miami was the best team in the country.
Yeah, I mean, and with good reasons. They were early in the season. They had a really good resume, some huge wins, and like Ruben Bain is awesome. So they have the pass rush, they have the offensive line, they're built in the trenches. I think they could pull a surprise here. Of the 4 games, if you were asking me rank which one are you most excited to watch, that would be one. And that's not disrespecting Alabama, Oklahoma, but I've watched that one this year. And I kind of have a feel that that's going to be one of your headbanger slugfest defensive games. Miami, Texas A&M to me is anything goes. Like any choice of game flow, I would say, yeah, I could see that happening.
And you look at the way they schedule these 4 games in your mind, and it looks that way to me that they put the 2 games, the next 2 I'm going to talk about, against the NFL games because they wanted these other 2 games to get a wide audience. Is that kind of how you kind of look at the way the games were scheduled wise?
Yeah, because they would lose against the NFL. Those aren't just NFL games. It's Commanders, Eagles. And the Commanders are admittedly bad, and then it's Bears, Packers. Packers, that's one of the biggest games of the year in the NFL, or the most watched. It's an Ohio State, Michigan level rivalry in the NFL that's finally reheating because the Bears are actually good. Yeah, I'm a Green Bay fan, so I'm going to have that game on too, at least on one of the TVs while I'm watching Oregon JMU.
Oh, me too. I'm a Packers fan too. So I'll be doing the exact same thing that you're going to be doing. Tulane and Ole Miss. Of course, this is a rematch, which they easily could have fixed this, Bill. They could have put A&M at 6 and Ole Miss at 7, but they didn't. Ole Miss won 45-10 early in the regular season. Of course, I know the big storyline. No Lane Kiffin. He's at LSU now. Was John Summerall. He's off to Florida, but he's still coaching there at Tulane. Do you see a scenario in this game where Tulane can keep it close?
Yeah, I think they'll compete. I don't know if close is a relative term. I'm thinking they're not going to get beat 45-10 again. I think John Summerall's done a nice job. I like the way that they played in the American Conference Championship, and they can keep that momentum going, that they could compete for 4 quarters with Ole Miss. I think the challenge is Trinidad Chambliss and Kewan Lacey and all these options that Ole Miss had in that first game. Jake Retzlaff did not play well for Tulane in that first meeting. Missed his first 9 passes. They really struggled in the passing game and just couldn't get anything going anywhere on offense. And if that happens again, yeah, they'll lose handily. But I do think they have enough that they can compete for a little bit.
It's kind of in a way with the James Madison Oregon question for you, as that one, because you look at James Madison, tremendous year in the Sun Belt, win the Sun Belt championship, really good running back in Wayne Knight, over 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. A quarterback, Alonzo Barnett, also a running threat, 14 touchdowns. But that Oregon defense is just great. Number 3 in the Big Ten, points allowed, only averaging about 152 yards a game allowed as well. Solid run defense. Dante Martin, on and on and on. This team is just talented at Oregon. Kind of feel like they kind of float around under radar too in the Big Ten with Ohio State, Indiana there. What do you foresee this game looking like?
Well, if you mentioned Knight and Barrett and that JMU running game, if they can't run the ball, they're going to get blown out. I mean, that's the fear that we have this blowout that everybody complains about opposite Green, or they just don't watch it because Green Bay and Chicago are playing. So I'm happy for JMU. I'm happy for stories like that, but they are up against it here. Oregon's defensive and offensive front's really good. They can push you around on the offensive side of the ball around Emmanuel Pregnon, the two-time transfer All-American guard. Sporting News All-American guard. We just put our All-American team out today. And I think we could do they're up against that. And because Oregon is so solid on both trenches, it's going to be a problem. Plus, you're playing in Austin. And, I mean, James Madison's played at places, obviously, but that's a tough venue, especially if you've never been there. Hard not to see. I hope it's competitive because it'd be healthy for the playoff and healthy for the group of five, but I'm just not sure it will be.
You know, just looking at this first round, and, of course, last year we saw Ohio State go on the run they did. Of these teams playing in the first round, are any of them you could see making that kind of run?
Man, I've been asked that question so many times in the last 2 weeks, and I've tried to find the right team. My short answer would be probably Oregon, but they're not. They're a 5 seed. That doesn't really count. Like, I think Oregon could win the national title. They're the only one out of that group that I think could. And then Alabama and Miami, strangely, it's like I said, they've been disrespected for 2 weeks. Miami's got enough talent to make a run. Alabama's got Alabama guys, but they got to get through this first game. I'm just not sure the rest of those teams have the capability, the depth, the coaching, the rosters, especially with some of the – I'm not saying their coaches can't coach. I'm saying they had coaching turnover to make a national championship run.
And last question, you mentioned earlier, Packers, Bears. You know, we're both fans of this Packers team. Does ownership of the Bears still remain in Green Bay, Wisconsin after Saturday night?
Of course. Let's hope. I know he's gutted like you were probably. My son and I were at a dance recital with my daughter on Sunday. She danced in the Nutcracker. She did a fantastic job. But we were checking our phones during, and that happened. And Micah Parsons, the injuries got punched, but Green Bay will rally, and they've, as a couple Packers fans I know put on social media, some of their best moments have been when everybody's counting them out, and maybe this is one of them. I like them to win the game. I still think they get to the playoffs, and just a little more pressure on Jordan Love.
Yeah, I think more people were upset over losing Michael Parsons than actually losing the game to the Broncos.
I was one of those people as well.
Well, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun weekend of football with, like I said, the NFL, and then you've got these playoff games going on as well. And Bill's been, of course, fun having you on the podcast as always. And if the listeners and viewers want to check you out, where can they find you?
Yeah, at sportingnews.com and Bill Bender 92 on the X and Twitter. And you and I, we should catch up before the national championship game. I know that's, believe it or not, that's like a month from now, and we'll get after it and have a lot of fun. It's always a pleasure coming on your show, Phillip. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, I always appreciate you coming on the show, and I look forward when we get to do this again.
Hey, no problem.
All right, so now you got the full-on look national of the playoff. All 4 games. There will be a little Packers talk as well. So now we're going to head over to Norman, Oklahoma. Earlier in the week, I had a chance to talk to Tyler McComas. He has hosted The Rush on the Ref from 3 to 6 p.m. there in Norman, Oklahoma, where they talk a lot of Oklahoma Sooners, a lot of SEC football. We will dive into this matchup, look back at the previous 2 matchups between Alabama and Oklahoma since Oklahoma has joined the SEC, how Oklahoma has been able to perform better in these games than Alabama, and what he's expecting for this matchup coming up on Friday night. This is going to be the one that kicks off the playoffs. This is going to be a slugfest between these 2. But here's my conversation earlier in the week with Tyler McComas on the Oklahoma Sooners and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Everybody joining me now on the show. We're going to take a deep dive into this Alabama-Oklahoma matchup for Friday night. Joining me to talk about all things Oklahoma Sooners is Tyler McComas. You can check him out. He's the host of The Rush on the Ref, 3 to 6 p.m. Also there in Norman, Oklahoma. And Tyler, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, you bet. It's big week around here. This is one of those where when you have nothing else to talk about in the summer months, it's, well, how cool would it be and what would it be like if OU were to ever host a college football playoff game? And now here we are the week of, And it's not like they're hosting, with all due respect, Tulane or James Madison or anything. You're hosting Alabama. It's a matchup of two blue bloods. It is. I mean, we're saying things around here like it could be the biggest home game in OU football history. They've had some big ones around here. So it's the nerves have set in. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm sure. And that was one of the highlights, I think, of last year with this 12-team playoff, with the first round having the home games, the on campus. I really wish we could do that for more rounds. I think the first and second round would be great if they could do that, which, of course, bowls and, all the tie-ins and kind of still trying to keep some bowl people happy and all that other stuff. But when the bracket came out and you saw Oklahoma was going to be hosting Alabama, what was your first reaction?
Shocked. I mean, just pure shock, because I had made some graphics for our social media page here at the station of OU Notre Dame and OU Miami. And I thought I had everything covered. I think it's going to be OU Notre Dame in Norman, because I think we were all very confident that OU is going to be the 8th seed and hosting a home playoff game. We had that figured out. We all thought it was going to be Notre Dame. And if we're wrong about Notre Dame, it's going to be Miami. Nobody thought, and nobody projected, by the way, the morning of, that OU was going to play Alabama. So I was shocked. The OU fan base was shocked. I think Alabama fans were shocked. I think everybody that pays attention to college football was shocked that it was a rematch between OU and Alabama. Just did not see that coming. Like I said, I thought it was going to be Notre Dame and Miami, and the fan base was surprised too. I think initially some people were, oh no, I don't want to have to rematch those guys. It's going to be difficult to beat them twice in one season. And it definitely will be, but I think more people have come to the idea of, well, Bama's a bit banged up. They are not playing their best football of the year. Maybe overall this could be a pretty good matchup for us in the first round.
Yeah, and you kind of alluded to it off the top here in this conversation, just the excitement level having that playoff game. I mean, what are your expectations for Friday on how the atmosphere is going to be?
Oh, I think it's going to be one of the greatest ones that we've ever seen around here. And, OU Alabama was incredible last year. OU Nebraska, number 1 versus number 3 in 2000 was incredible. OU against number 2 Texas Tech in 2008. We called that the jump around game because they played jump around. Everybody went crazy. There's been some amazing home games, some amazing atmospheres. But this is just so unique and so different. There's certainly been big home games in the past where you had to win this to stay in the BCS discussion or the college football playoff discussion. But we never had anything like this where it's legitimately win or go home. And it's win or go home against an SEC opponent like Alabama. So I think if it's a close game and say if OU were to win the thing, I think we would come out and say it's the greatest home game in OU history and maybe the best atmosphere that we've ever seen in Norman before. Those are the types of things I think most people are expecting around here, the atmosphere to be that insane, especially with the team that doesn't score a lot of points, and they've got to win tight, low-scoring games. I feel like everybody going to this game Friday night knows, too, that, hey, an incredible atmosphere could be the difference in this football game. So pile that on top of everything else, night game as well. It's going to be insane, man. It's going to be insane.
And starting last year, it was that way the 14 playoff, but, you got these many teams 12. I always kind of look at, okay, what do you always hear NFL coaches say in these playoff situations? It is the turnover battle. And that's something, looking at these two matchups with these two teams, since Oklahoma joined the SEC, 2-0 versus Alabama, the turnover battle and stopping the run, Oklahoma has done that against Alabama's turned the ball over 3 times, both times they've played each other since Oklahoma joined the SEC. What has led to Brett Venables having that success against this Kalen DeBoer offense of Alabama?
Making him one-dimensional is what it's felt like to me, getting consistent pressure on Ty Simpson. Man, I remember, talking about that game going into Tuscaloosa about a month or so back, and it was Ty Simpson's on a heater. He is definitely a Heisman finalist. Man, it just seems like he's been really rolling. And OU was just able to shut down that run game and put consistent pressure on him. And Ty Simpson finally kind of turned human a little bit. So I think it's just that. I think that they've been able to shut down Bama's run game, put them in 3rd and longs, make them predictable, but also make them make quick decisions with the football as well. Against a really good defense that's very opportunistic. And, you bring up the turnovers, and Everyone's always trying to figure out the smartest thing to say about a football game, the stat that nobody's thought of, the key that nobody's thought of before. Keep it simple with this. It is about the turnovers. It's why OU won the first time, because they won the turnover battle, 3-0 in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it's why OU won back last year, because they forced 3 turnovers in the game. The way that OU plays, they have to win the turnover battle in this game. If it's 0-0 or Bama wins at 1-0, I don't know if OU can win this football game. Look at the LSU game. OU lost it 3-1, and they were in a really, really tough spot late in the game. The way that OU plays, the lack of offense, the incredible defense, they have to win the turnover battle. And I know it's the simplest and the easy key for any football game you talk about, but it is definitely true in a game of this magnitude. OU must win it. They must win it at least by 1. Maybe they need to win this by a couple to win this football game with how close I think it's going to be.
Yeah, and if you get one early, like I still think about when they met, when Oklahoma won 23-21. And I think Alabama had kind of shown some weaknesses going into that game, I think, against South Carolina and against LSU. They really struggled offense against LSU, but you win. So there's not as that much attention. I think Oklahoma really showed a lot of the warts with this Alabama team, particularly more people paying attention. They couldn't run the ball. You get pressure on Ty Simpson. He has issues. You saw Auburn have success defensively against them. Then what Georgia did is kind of show what you have to do against this team. But if you get a big interception like they did in that first game, you did that on the road. You do that here. I kind of wonder, I don't know how this Alabama team would respond to that if Oklahoma gets that early momentum and the crowd's kind of already against you, leads to a score, and then you're probably Ty Simpson back. Okay, I'm going to start seeing ghosts out here.
And that's my big question with Alabama is they're a beat up team right now. Just kind of where are they? Do they get up off the mat? And that's why, I understand why some people say, oh, a rematch against the same team so close together, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be challenging for sure. But if this was Nick Saban that you had to beat the second time around, and maybe Alabama fans don't want to hear this, I would feel much different about a rematch with Nick Saban versus Kalen DeBoer. And that's so much not a slam on Kalen DeBoer. It's just Nick Saban's the greatest of all time. And I think trying to beat him and one of his football teams for the second time in basically a month would be extremely difficult. So, but where is Bama at right now? Because they got dominated against Georgia. Bama doesn't lose a whole lot of games by 21 points. I know they did that last year in Norman, but the score felt even worse than that 28-7 deficit to Georgia. So they're beat up. Where's their confidence? Not only are they not playing their best football, they're probably playing their worst football of the year. Now, Bama's back was against the wall after the Florida State loss, and they went to Athens, and they responded in a big way. But that's kind of my question with Alabama. I don't doubt the overall talent that they have, but where are they just kind of mentally at as a team, and are they ready to get off the mat as a beat-up football team in front of an incredible road environment? We'll find out Friday night, but this is just not, from an outsider's perspective, it just doesn't feel like I'm talking about the same Alabama team that I feel like I've been talking about for 15, 16 years,
It's not even the same team they were in the middle of the year. I mean, that's just the wild thing. And then I know, kind of prepping for our conversation, our Mason Thomas seemed like there's some optimism that he could be able to play in this game. Just what kind of impact could you see him having in this one?
He practiced on Monday night. I'd expect him to be out there. My question is he like a full go, like 100% out there for the majority of the snaps, or is he like, 10 to 15 snaps? Let's get him going. Because he had that injury back on November 1st in the first half of the Tennessee game. What to expect? I mean, he was an all SEC, all first team guy. He was an SEC first teamer, and he didn't even play a full half of football in the month of November. I mean, think about that. The most important and critical month of the season, certainly for OU in the run that they went on, he barely even played, yet he was still an all-SEC first-team type of guy. I think he's one of the best pass rushers in the conference if he's healthy and ready to go. So I think that is a big deal, especially when you see that Alabama's offensive line isn't playing well right now. Ty Simpson is, doesn't seem like he's the same quarterback that he was back in the month of October, right? So I think he'll play. How much will he play? They showed OU can get to him even without him, but I think it would be a massive deal if our Mason Thomas is truly 100% and out there for the majority of the snaps. He really is that good when he's out there and available. He's special.
I remember the Auburn game where he didn't play in the first half. Now, look, Oklahoma was already getting pressure on Jackson Arnold throughout that game. It got even to a different level when he came in because then you got to pay so much attention to him. And then the other guys it opens up opportunities for them. Oklahoma on offense, it seems like since the Mateer injury, he came back in Texas. I mean, you mentioned it. Offensively, they don't score a lot of points, but they make plays when they have to, like the touchdown against LSU. When you have to have a big play, they're able to make it. When you look at this Oklahoma offense, where are they at? Because it seems like Mateer, he will turn the ball over. He had the 3 interceptions against LSU. Where are they at offensively in your mind?
You're right about they'll make plays when they have to, but it's just so wild because they'll be bad for like an entire quarter, a quarter and a half. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're struggling to pick up first downs. There's just a 78-yard touchdown in the middle of nowhere. It's like, where did that come from? They'll struggle the entire game. Bam, Satania gets like an 86-yard touchdown. It's like, what the heck? Like, why did that look so easy and so wide open, and the rest of the game is such a struggle? Where are they at right now? I mean, it's a great question. I think they're as healthy as they've probably been in a while. At least OU fans are certainly hoping that's the case. The confidence isn't super high at this point, and I think that they're an offense that's just, let's be efficient and let's not cost us the football game, I think this is an offense right now that is struggling to consistently run the ball, and an offense with a quarterback that is just struggling with a lot of confidence right now. I think early in the year, he made some plays. Like, you go back to the Michigan game. He makes a play rolling out to the right, just throws a dart down the sideline. You're saying, dang, man, like, that is a play. That is a throw. And I think he really struggled after the thumb injury. And he had that really bad game against Texas where he threw a few picks. And I think the confidence has just kind of gone down and down and down as the season wore on. And he's not even attempting the plays like that. They're missing the easy stuff, the layups, as I call them. The 3rd and 2 where the tight end is wide open just beyond the line of scrimmage. He throws it behind him. It's incomplete. You have to punt. There are plays to be made down the field that he's not even seeing. He's not even going to those options because he's not seeing it right now. So where John Mateer's most effective right now is they're going to hit on 1 or 2 big plays a game. In the past game, probably with Satania, but hoping that he can pick up some yards with his feet as well. He has got to play a clean football game. He's got to. And I know he didn't do much against Alabama the first time around, but at least he didn't turn the ball over, If he doesn't play clean and he plays the way that he did against LSU, OU's not going to win this game. So where is this offense right now? It doesn't really have an identity. It's hoping to hit on a few big plays a game, and it's hoping to play efficient enough where they're not leaving their defense out to dry because they're out there on the field for 40 minutes a game.
It kind of feels like this game too, just kind of looking at it from both sides. It's 2 teams that right now struggling to run the football. They've got good defenses, and really which quarterback, not necessarily who plays better, just, as we've kind of mentioned at the beginning, don't turn the ball over. And that's kind of like where you're probably going to be looking at your winner.
Yeah, and I think, in terms of adjustments from last game, I feel like Alabama's going to take more chances down the field with one-on-ones. I for whatever reason, I feel like Bama kind of knows, we're going to have a tough time running the football in this game. Not that they'll just totally abandon it, but I think it's going to be evident early on, this is going to be another game where even if Jam Miller's ready to go, we're just not going to be able to consistently run the ball on these guys. So I think Bama's going to get their one-on-ones with Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard and throw it down the field. The problem is, and I do think Bama could have some success with that from time to time, the problem is Ty Simpson going to have enough time to consistently throw the ball deep with those pass rushers getting on it? So, is this game as simple enough as who wins the turnover battle? Maybe, I think so. They could also be just as easy as which quarterback plays the more efficient game and which one takes care of the football. Because I would almost project that both these quarterbacks are probably going to have a turnover in this game. And I don't think that the pass rush is going to be non-existent for OU against Ty Simpson. I think they'll get there, but I think Alabama's going to get to John Mateer and shut down the run game as well.
Yeah, and so usually when games like that, special teams, we hadn't really talked about it, but that's also going to be something interesting. A little fun. So let's say Oklahoma gets through this one. They beat Alabama. They move on to the next round. Obviously, they're matched up against Indiana. Just kind of having some fun with it. How would you see this Oklahoma team matching up with Indiana if they get by Alabama?
So the look-ahead line that I found last week on this is, I believe it was Indiana minus 9.5 in this game. Indiana minus 9.5 would be the early line, and Indiana would be a 7.5 point favorite against Alabama, which I found interesting. I'll be honest with you, man. I still look at the logo when it comes to Indiana. I know they're good. They went to Oregon and won. They beat Ohio State on a neutral field. Like, dude, they are good. Like, they've proven that they are good. And it's not just because they have an unbelievable quarterback that bails them out. Their defense looked friggin' awesome against Ohio State. Now, their best defensive lineman, I guess, is going to be out because he had a freak injury after the Big Ten title game. I know Indiana's good because I've seen two incredible wins that they've had. I'll be honest, though, man, when I see the IU on the side of the helmet, I still think basketball school, and I still don't think I give them the respect that they deserve. So if OU were to play Indiana in the next round, I would slightly favor Indiana, but I think OU could cause a whole lot of problems for Indiana's offense. I think there'd be a lot of pressure on Indiana in that game. We saw teams last year who win that first round game maybe get hot, and a team that's been sitting around forever getting a little bit rusty. I might favor Indiana slightly, but I think that'd be a really, really, really close game between OU and Indiana in the Rose Bowl. And like the way OU plays, probably another low-scoring type football game that's like 17-13, 16-13, kind of somewhere in that realm.
Hey, defense travels. So, that's always a big thing. Defense travels. And it's going to be fun on Friday night. I know everybody there in Norman, Oklahoma is looking forward to Friday night. And Tyler, it's been a lot of fun having you on previewing this game, especially with the Oklahoma side of things. If the listeners, viewers want to follow you online, where can they find you?
KREF, just search KREF in the App Store. We're a sports radio station based out of Norman, but you can listen to us worldwide. And we talk OU football 95% of the time. We also talk a lot of SEC football as well. So college football talk, playoff talk, SEC talk, if that's what you're looking for. I'm on from 3 to 6 Central every single day. But we talk a lot of football, man, and have fun with it. So big game, big game. This is what you wait all that long, grueling offseason for. So I can't wait for this one, man.
Absolutely. Nothing like playoff football at any level.
Yep.
So it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. And again, Tyler, I appreciate the time, and I look forward when we get to do this again.
All right. Yeah, you bet. Anytime.
All right. And once again, thanks to Tyler McComas and Bill Bender. A lot of fun previewing these playoff games for this week. Can't wait. Friday night, I'm going to be locked in to these playoff games. Also, let's look at my picks for the 4 games. Starting on Friday night, Alabama playing at Oklahoma, 7 o'clock, ABC, ESPN. It's going to be all over the place. Alabama is a 1.5-point favorite going into this one. And kind of just thinking about it, I mean, yes, Oklahoma has had their number in these 2 matchups. 24-3 last year, 23-21 this year in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's not been able to run the ball. But Oklahoma can't either. And I just feel like one thing we have seen with this Kalen DeBoer, 2 years at Alabama, when they are pushed against the wall, when their backs are against it, they have shown up and played well. When people were kind of wondering, okay, what are they going to do? They did it after they lost to Florida State. Going to Vanderbilt, that was the first big road game of the year. Because the narrative with Kalen DeBoer so far, a year and a half in, was, hey, they do good in Tuscaloosa, but they can't win on the road. And they haven't played great. They lost to Oklahoma, the struggle against Auburn, and then the way they lost against Georgia. And a lot of people like saying, and, talk about this with Bill Bender. A lot of people say, man, Alabama shouldn't have been there. They're not playing well. This is not a championship level team. So I'm going to ride with, I think Alabama's going to win the game. I think Alabama's going to beat Oklahoma. I think they're going to go to the next round and play Indiana. It's not going to be a pretty football game. It's probably going to be defense. It's just going to come down to which one of these 2 quarterbacks doesn't make the big mistakes. And special teams is going to have a play in this game too as well. Field positions are going to be huge between Alabama and Oklahoma. just because of the level of defense we're going to see in this one. So I'm going to say I'm going to go with Alabama, low scoring, probably like a 17-14, 21-14 type of game. But I think Alabama's going to make a play there at the end, and they're going to win. Neither team's going to be able to run the ball. And that's one thing. Alabama is good at the pass. You can run on this defense, but Oklahoma's not a great running team. So you don't really have to, I think, really think that's going to be a part of the equation in this one. All right, now let's jump into the rest of these games. On Saturday, Miami playing Texas A&M. And we talked about this with Bill Bender as well. A&M's a 3-point favorite. I think A&M is a very overlooked team in the playoff. I think they're a team that's capable of making a run. And I asked Bill Bender the question of the teams this weekend. He think win national title. Obviously, Oregon's a team. You believe that is a team that could create some damage. Miami, he is one, but I think I'm picking A&M to win this game, and A&M's a team I think that could really cause some problems for some people. In this thing, so Marcel Reed, if he's on his game in the offense, and the thing about A&M and going into, we're probably gonna have a higher scoring game. The over/under in this one is 50.5 points, and A&M showed this year they can win a low scoring game. They did against Auburn. They also have shown this year they can win a high scoring game. They did early against Notre Dame. They've had some other games with a lot of points being scored, so they can win both ways. And I just think this is a team, since they lost to Texas, they've been overlooked. People have wrote them off. I think they're a dangerous team. And I just don't trust Carson Beck. I just don't. In a big game here in this moment, I feel like he's going to throw an interception or two. It's going to cost them. Tulane Ole Miss, I don't think it'll be 45-10 like it was earlier in the year, but I do think Ole Miss will win this one. Probably by 14 to 17 points, I think, in this, maybe like a 31-14. Tulane will play well. They keep it close for a little bit longer than they did the first time around. But I just, the talent of Ole Miss and that offense is going to be really, really tough for them to stop. And then with the JMU and Oregon just got too many players. I don't think JMU is going to be able to stop them. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball on Oregon. I think this will be the biggest blowout of the first round of playoffs. So give me Alabama, give me A&M, give me Ole Miss, and give me Oregon to win in the first round of college football playoff. All right, and then real quickly, wanted to get into with the NFL this weekend. Big games in NFL this weekend. Playoff positioning on the line all over the place. Big game on Thursday night between the Seahawks and the Rams. The Rams right now, I mean, if you asked me who I thought the best team in the NFL was, that is the Rams, and they're going to go to Seattle. Now, Seattle's coming off the win against the Colts where they kicked nothing but field goals, win 18-16 against Phillip Rivers. And then the Rams coming off that win, kind of a comeback win against the Lions. High-scoring game for a little bit there. Then they just outlasted the Lions in that one. I think the Rams are going to win this one. And like I said, I think the Rams are the best team in the league. But this is a big game. Both teams are 11-3, trying that positioning in the NFC West. So be very interesting to see where these two teams do in this game on a Thursday night game. But really key for this one and really positioning, not just also in the NFC West, but also when it comes to the NFC overall with the winner of this game. The Packers are playing at the Bears. Packers went from 23-14, going for the put away shot, really, when Jordan Love went deep to Christian Watson downfield. Watson gets hurt, Pat Surtain interception, and then the Broncos took momentum. You lose Michael Parsons, ACL injury there too as well. And now what you're going to do, Packers defense, because, Chase and Caleb Williams are around. You saw what happened with Bo Nix, and now you're going into this now. Chase and Caleb Williams around when you're going into Chicago. They want to beat the Packers. They're leading the division. This is a big game again for Green Bay, trying to get the lead back. Christian Watson, I've seen stuff. There may be a shot he could play in this one. We'll see. Obviously, again, they're without Michael Parsons, so they're going to have to get pressure a different way there. Josh Jacobs has been playing all year banged up, and they're just going to have to lean on the run game on this one. And the offensive line, Zach Tom, he got banged up there against the Broncos as well. So what's going to be the deal here with the Packers going into this one with the Bears? Again, the winner of this game, especially if the Bears win, they pretty much will be looking at, I think, as the NFC North champion. But for the Packers, look, you still got after this one, you got the Ravens and then you got the Vikings. 2 games I think you can win. So the Packers get through this one. I think that's the team you can see winning the NFC North. And then just some other matchups kind of throughout the day there in the NFL. A big one, obviously, is in the South is going to be the Buccaneers and the Panthers. Panthers are going to have to win the division. Buccaneers trying to claim it. I mean, they've been struggling lately. Just a really good year for the Panthers. This is a team I think nobody thought was going to be good this year, and they have really played well. Bryce Young has played well. He's had some big games, big performances too as well. He returned his career around. I thought that rookie year we're looking at a bust, but now he is a solid NFL quarterback. Not great, but he's a solid NFL quarterback. And then, like I said, I think Todd Bowles, a lot of pressure on him coming into this game too as well to win the division. Let's see, his job could be in jeopardy if they do not figure that out. The Steelers and Lions. I mean, the Lions, that playoff race there in the NFC. The Steelers trying to keep winning so they can win the AFC North. Because then you got the Ravens playing the Patriots later on Sunday night. The Patriots trying to bounce back from that loss against the Bills, and then again the Ravens trying to just stay right there with the Steelers, and then of course the 49ers and Colts will end it. The Colts need a win, and the 49ers are another team. I think we could get 3 teams from the NFC West in the playoffs because the 49ers are another really good team. As we look at the playoff standings going into this week in the NFL, very interesting where everybody's at playoff-wise. In the AFC, you've got the Broncos at the top. They've clinched a playoff spot. The Patriots behind them at 11-3. Then you have the Jaguars at 10-4. Not even, a lot of people don't talk about it. It's like the Jaguars keep winning, but no one's talking about them. Steelers would be the 4, and you got the Chargers at 5. Bills at 6, and then the Texans sitting there at 7. And they got matchups too, trying to overtake the Jaguars for that division. So that's big for the Colts and the Ravens. The Chiefs are eliminated. So right now it's 9 teams for 7 spots there in the AFC. In the NFC, the Rams are at the top at 11-3. You have the Bears at 10-4. But hey, how things go, maybe perhaps the Bears can jump up. The Eagles, they'll be playing on Saturday too against the Commanders. You've got the Buccaneers there at 4 right now, but that matchup with Carolina is going to be huge. Seattle at 5, but that could flip with them and the Rams. What happens on Thursday night? 49ers at the 6th spot, and right now the Packers are sitting at 7. That's another reason why the Packers need a win on Saturday night against the Bears, just so they don't worry about somebody else catching up with them, taking a spot like the Lions. So the Packers do clinch a spot. They beat the Bears on Saturday night, and if the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, beats the Lions, the Packers come to playoff spot. So a lot to watch with that as well. So just quick thoughts going into this weekend in the NFL. We only have 3 weeks left of the regular season there before they start the playoffs. So football season is coming to an end close, but we still got weeks and weeks of football. 4 rounds of college football playoffs, 3 weeks of NFL, then 4 rounds of NFL playoffs. So still all ball to be played, but it is it definitely winding down. That is for sure. I'm going to get out of here. We'll be out next week. We'll recap the playoffs, talk all kind of other football stuff, other sports stuff going on. Next week, more guests, more fun. Can't wait to talk with you guys about it and talk to my guests about it too as well. You follow me on social media at P. Jordan Sports Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you podcast, YouTube, Phillip Jordan Sports, and email me at sports.philipjordan@gmail.com. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the football, the playoffs, and all that good stuff. And I will try to do better next time and let kindness be your compass.